From breakthrough strategies to game-changing innovations and cultural shifts, you'll discover the lessons that drive real impact, and we'll dive into the moments that changed everything. Welcome to The Missing Piece with April Reed. Okay, well, today I am thrilled to welcome Shane Pilcher, a remarkable leader who serves as Administrative Director, Chief Information Officer, and Information Security Officer at Siskin Hospital for Physical Rehabilitation. Shane has spent more than 20 years helping healthcare organizations navigate the ever-changing world of technology, digital transformation, and cybersecurity. But what stands out most about Shane isn't just his technical expertise, it's his heart for people and his ability to bring purpose and innovation together. From his early days in clinical care and military service to now leading teams through complex regulatory and operational challenges, Shane's leadership has always been about one thing: improving lives through better systems, safer care, and stronger teams. In this episode, we'll explore how he's helping redefine healthcare's digital future, the lessons he's learned about resilience and trust, and the missing piece that continues to drive his mission today. Shane, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, me too. So for our listeners that are maybe sitting in your seat as the CIO and or somebody in the military or somebody that has a clinical background, I know you've had quite a remarkable journey. Your leadership is incredibly impressive. Will you tell us more about your journey in this industry, how you are sitting in the seat that you're sitting in, and how it all began? Tell us, who is Shane Pilcher?
Well, that can be a very long answer, I guess, but it has been a unique journey from the days of when I was providing care at the bedside to now. I never would have really expected to be where I am today. It's just been a kind of a natural progression. After spending quite a few years at the bedside, my introduction into IT was the opportunity to help to optimize and program out electronic medical records. And the organization I was with at the time, they really just needed that clinical background. They were willing to teach me what I need to know to work within the EMR, but they wanted it to use people from that clinical background, because there is a difference between software that's made for a clinician and software that's made by a clinician. That was like, goodness, 25 years ago. And now through just opportunity just presenting itself and me stepping up and saying I'm willing, which I guess really kind of is that military background, am where I am today. So it's just been kind of a constant evolution that has allowed me to continue, and willingness to say yes. That's the big thing.
I think willingness to learn too. Obviously, you've been voracious in wanting to learn. Like you said, you weren't just given a software. You're like, how do I make it work? You probably don't know this about me, but I implemented the EHR for the DoD and ended up on military sites 2004, 5, and 6, rolling out the EHR at that time to the Navy hospitals, Air Force hospitals, and Army hospitals. And I learned very quickly that an EHR wasn't designed for patient care. It was a software that they were forcing everybody to use. It was amazing, but it still, wasn't designed for necessarily a neurosurgeon or a cardiologist, let alone a urologist or even an OBGYN physician along the way.
Right.
So what has been some of your lessons learned early on that you began to learn and use those strategically to climb the corporate ladder, if you will?
One is, what the most important is, it's not done alone. So it's all about relationships, and that's, horizontally, it's upwards, it's downwards throughout the organization, throughout your industry. So it truly is a village, and it takes groups, and so making sure that you're developing your relationships and you're developing that network, because you never know when it might become value. I think my biggest lesson learned is we all have good intentions. So I mean, the clinicians at the bedside, they want to take care of patients. The IT team, they're wanting to make sure the network is set up and secured, and is stable so that the providers can do what they do. But understanding that while we're on different sides of that process, we're all part of the same team. So one thing that I really worked hard at, and when I first came to Siskin, is focusing on customer service, changing the dynamic of IT being a department where good ideas went to die, or the department of no, or the ones that were always putting in roadblocks. Instead, being how can we better enable the caregiver to take care of the patient? But then that kind of transformed into the IT team understanding that the difference between our purpose and what we did. I mean, when I would ask, what is our purpose? They would tell me, keeping the computers up, keeping the network going. And I had to remind them that's what we did, but that's not our purpose. Our purpose, especially in healthcare IT, is that we are actually part of the caregiving team. We're not taking care of the patients. We're not putting hands on patients, but we're part of that team because we're enabling the caregiver. And when that was really understood, that changed our dynamic of us versus them to being a team. And when a request would come in, we'd understand that it's not a frustration or an inconvenience. Instead, it's a way that we can work together to help bring out better patient outcomes.
I love everything that you just said. And the more, I mean, I've been in this industry a long time as well. And the more that you talk to the executive leadership, those are the ones that are thriving, and their hospitals are thriving when they look at what they're doing as basically serving the patients, serving better outcomes, serving the hospital, not a job. You don't, it's not, IT gets the bad reputation because it's the no. Like you said, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do this. Yes, we have to do it this way. And it gets a bad rep, but really if you look at it from a purpose driven perspective that you've done, that's really insightful and very powerful. And I feel like those are the hospitals that have been thriving, is leading with purpose and focus. So with your team, digital change, digital transformation, technology, AI, things are happening so fast. You've been uh, at Siskin for quite some time. How are you and your team keeping up with the ever changing technology, upgrades, changes, implementations, you name it, all the things? How do you keep up with that? What do you do?
That is a tremendous question, and a tremendous challenge. Things are not slowing down in IT. Instead, it's actually getting faster. And therefore, while healthcare IT kind of lagged behind other industries, now, especially with AI, we're actually starting to take on technologies much quicker in their development life cycle, really creating a need for us to be able to stay up. And so, one, the networks that you develop is a key piece of that. Being able to reach out to other peers of mine and ask them how they're addressing certain issues, or their experience with certain technologies or even vendors, but just from an internal perspective, instilling a culture of learning and valuing that across your team. One thing I have learned is just providing the training and the education is not enough. Life and operations are always going to get in the way. So you have to make sure that you are prioritizing it, and even in some cases incentivizing the training so that your team has time to learn and invest in themselves and to continue to grow their skills so that you as a department can continue to move forward and support what you need to support. So it's a constant evolution, but it's got to be prioritized and be intentional.
So I'm really passionate about learning and training. Back, like I was saying, when I first started implementing EHR, I was training them. I launched my firm because I wanted to train better. And so training and learning, you just mentioned it several times. It was my missing piece and my passion on how to empower, how to reduce clicks, how to build something where they could learn and quickly navigate to what they needed to do in their role, specifically on the provider side, and the clinical side. Are there, like, what is your advice when you say teaching, training, learning, empowering, creating a culture of learning? What is your advice there? Because we have experienced where there's a pushback, to learning, or there's a pushback to too much new technology. Or, it's like, oh, I have to learn something again, or I have to learn something new. Do you have any secret sauce or words of wisdom with that one?
Well, if you feed them, they'll learn. No, I mean that's no, I agree that's the dynamic that there is a constant balance between time and the what you do on a daily basis and what you're learning. I think one is understanding the need of your users or your team. What drives them? What motivates them? Why would it be of value for them to learn something, and then helping them understand why it's important for them, what value it is to them to learn it. I know training on an EMR, having them sit in a class, sometimes that's very hard to understand why this is valuable to me versus it just being time away from what I do. But being able to help them understand how to maybe more easily navigate the EMR, or tricks and tips to be able to save them time so they can spend more time in front of the patient instead of in front of the computer, being able to kind of translate the why back to something that's important to them. But I also think it's important to help them understand that there's many ways of learning. There are formal ways, and degrees and classrooms and that kind of thing, but there's a lot of informal ways as well.
Yeah.
And in today's time, even with podcasts like this, there are ways to learn that can fit into um, their schedules, but also into their interests as well. And it's important that they do that.
Yeah, and I've really learned the more that people tap into the way that they learn, are they an auditory learner? Are they a visual learner? Are they kinesthetic learner? And that is important because you might be forced to learn a certain way that's not the best way to learn. And so then you think like, I can't learn it or I don't want to learn it. So creating that culture of how do you best learn and then the why. There's the Simon Sinek's book, Start
Yes.
with Why. And me and my team always talk about it. Why do we do what we do? I mean, I am similar to you. I've been in this industry for so long and I'm like, why? And to be honest, I love solving problems. I'm so passionate about how to make a difference, for hospitals or healthcare organizations or others that I can't help it. It's just satisfying. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face on the daily, on the weekly, or even every year? Like, what are some of the challenges that you're constantly feeling like you're up against?
It's the constant balancing of innovation versus supporting what you have versus trying to develop operational excellence versus moving you know the needle forward. It's and all at the same time being able to continue to allow your team to thrive and not. So it's that balance and that constant yin and yang of that process is to me the greatest challenge, and really requires a lot of intention, but a lot of support across your peers, and managing up and managing down, even to be able to really manage or to control that balance. Because if one gets out of balance, you're going to lose quality across all. So, I mean, you can't be all things to all people, and you've got to be able to really define where you want to focus your time, but you've got to balance it. And I think that's to me the kind of that key piece, but also it's maintaining passion,
Mhm.
um, and protecting your passion. At the end of the day, knowledge is great. Understanding your mission, understanding what you're doing is great. But if you don't have the passion for what you do, you're going to hit a wall. It's that passion that allows you to rise above the challenge or to crash through the wall and continue to deliver what you need to deliver for that time. So protecting your passion is also critical.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you're saying. Like, I think balance in general is the answer. To your point, it is. It's too much of anything is never a good thing. And the balance and the purpose and the why. What has been some of the things that Shane has done at in your role or at in your life? It doesn't even have to be at Siskin Hospital, whether it be the military or working for healthcare companies or now CIO at Siskin. What has been some things that you're really proud of that you have been a part of that you've been passionate about and has moved the needle in your life or has been that missing piece that you solved for yourself or in your life?
Oh wow, yeah. I think so many examples, but all of them do kind of come back to helping solve a problem in some way. Yeah, the what we do on a daily basis is solve problems and
Yeah.
make things happen, and it's really exciting and rewarding when you get to see that fix something or to make it easier or better for a user, or even more than that, you get to see the impact that it has on a patient. I think for me today, and being here at Siskin, the mission, being part of an inpatient physical rehab hospital, is different than an acute care hospital. And I spent my entire career on the acute care side. And I mean, I was used to, stopping the bleeding, saving the patient. On this side, we actually get to see life be
Mm.
returned to the patient, and
Wow.
the patient be able to gain a quality of life that they might have thought was gone forever.
Mm.
So when we see them, and we actually have a process here that anytime a patient discharges, we actually have a discharge celebration where we have a certain sound that plays across the overhead, and everybody knows to gather at the front door. And as patients will through to go home, we're able to celebrate them leaving, and to see the excitement on their face when many of them might not have been able to walk in the hospital, but now they're walking out. Or we've actually seen a young man that thought he would never walk again and getting ready to be married. He worked with his therapist while he was an inpatient to be able to dance with his wife at the wedding when she didn't think that he was going to do that. And us being at the wedding, being able to see him stand up out of his wheelchair and walk over to her and dance with her. I mean, it's those kind of things that you realize. I don't care what challenge I'm having or how bad of a day. This is worth it, and this is why we do what we do.
Yeah, I bet you there was not a dry eye. I wouldn't
Absolutely.
I'd be a mess. That's really fun. Thank you for sharing that sweet story and that celebration of people walking out. What a neat thing to do, hopefully on the daily basis. We'd love to see more people leaving
Right.
faster and celebrating that. That's perfect. Transitioning to the future of technology. Where do you see healthcare IT and in the next, I can't even say 5 years because it's so hard. Everything's happening so quickly, but any thoughts on the future of technology, good, bad, or indifferent?
I think it is overwhelmingly exciting and terrifying at the same time. So I think that what we see 5 years from now will be totally unrecognizable than what we have today. I mean, just at the rapid development of AI. I mean, you know, AI is such a broad topic, and is treated as if it is the silver bullet to fix all problems, but it's not. I mean, but it's really important how you use it. But the way the technology is advancing, as
Yeah.
long as we can control it, we can address the biases that come from it. We can make sure that the data stays safe. It is going to allow us to transition out from caregivers that sit in front of a computer and just document from a conversation to actually getting back in front of a patient and taking care of the patient like they want to do. And then being able to still document in a way that gives us all the benefits of an EMR. I think that we're going to see automation in a way that the mundane, monotonous stuff that can truly have a lot of human error in it can be addressed so that it frees us up to be able to focus on more important things. But to do that, we've got to approach it very intentional and make sure it remains safe so that it does what it needs, but also delivers on what it's promising.
That was my next question was the safety. So, I mean, you're going to be responsible for a lot of that, no pressure. But when it comes to the cybersecurity and the technology that gets installed or implemented, or as things again go so quickly, um, where do you even start as that gatekeeper, and obviously with your team around you, but making sure that everything is protected along the way?
One, you cannot live in a bubble. You're going to have to make sure that you are understanding what the trends are, you're understanding what the technology is, you're putting yourself out there enough where you're getting exposed to it, and you're getting exposed to the different messages from all sides. So, I mean, you're hearing all the potential so that you can make the right decisions. But really, once again, it comes down to that network too, be connecting with your peers so that those that might be a few steps ahead of you can learn from their mistakes or you can learn from their advice. Those that are a little bit behind you, they might can slow you down a little bit because they can explain why they're dragging their feet a little bit longer than you are. So there's a lot of value to that peer network. And then it's trusting your gut. I mean, if you have any question that makes you go or just gives you that question mark, trust it and follow it. But then just being willing to try something new. But that the security part of it does, and that honestly is what keeps me up at night. A network outage or downtimes, we train for that, we prepare for that. It's this, we have to get things right every single time that either a technology is trying to share information and we need to protect it, or a bad actor is trying to take advantage of our network. They only have to get it right once. So it's understanding that it's not over, and it's a constant everyday progression. It's got to be a culture thing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I am exactly, especially with how fast. It's the how fast everything's moving. And it is exciting. Like you said, it's exciting, it's terrifying, but the pressure of being the gatekeeper and protecting all of that, I imagine it would keep you up at night. And of course, you can't walk in fear. And you don't know what tomorrow holds. You can only do the best for today. And everybody wanting to talk to similar peers, to your point, what are other hospitals doing? How are they doing it? And I had mentioned before we even started the show that was why I decided to start the podcast, because I get asked all the time, can you connect me to other CIOs that's going through this or that has this, or other CEOs or whoever it is, where you guys can just exchange, this is what we did, this is what we're doing. And I think that that's true in life. It's not even just in the healthcare space. It's who are you surrounding yourself with? How are you learning from them? How are you growing? And never choosing to walk in any type of fear, but empowering and inspired by what you know, because your peers or your mentors or your colleagues or your friends are there for you and with you. So what does the next 5, 10, 20 years look like for Shane? Do you have any, dreams, ambitions? Like, what does this look like for you?
I have no idea. I I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I have actually just completed my doctorate, so I'm hoping to be able to utilize it in some way.
Wow.
But yeah, I can say what's not going to change. What's not going to change is that whatever I'm doing is about helping others in some way. Healthcare is certainly that vehicle that I've spent my entire life in being able to help other people, and I see that being still where I'm supposed to be. But it'd be looking for ways to continue to help in patient outcomes, but grow leadership and grow the team, the leaders that's following us, so that it's not going to get any easier for sure. And those coming behind us need to be ready. And I think looking for ways to be able to grow that next leadership is going to be a key piece of my future.
I love that. I love that. And congratulations on your doctorate. I am not sure I knew that. So that's amazing. When was graduation?
December from UAB. I was
It's
it's in
amazing.
healthcare leadership, so it was a great program. But so
Well,
it's a lifelong learning, but it's an opportunity
yes.
of being able to not only learn but help share that with others behind
Yeah.
you.
I love that. So we're coming up to just a couple more questions, and I'm loving learning from you. Was the whole pay it forward? That was going to be, just kind of how do you go back and, to the young Shane that's listening to, maybe like I had mentioned, somebody in the military, somebody in by the bed, in the clinical space, that wants to learn more, that's interested in IT and IS. What's your advice to them?
I would say go for it, and there's no better time than the present to make a change. So if you're having a desire to move in in a certain direction, make sure that it's the right direction. But when you do, then just jump in with both feet and go. I would also say that what I would tell myself is I would have embraced being a leader a lot earlier in my career, um,
Mhm.
and realizing that I was always leading in some way or another. I mean, just leaders typically lead, and you don't have to be in a position of leadership to lead, but embracing that people are looking at you and watching you, and you are leading people at whatever level of life you're in, and learn how to be the best leader you can be, because
Mhm.
that no matter where you're going in life, that'll help and that'll benefit you and others around you.
Have you read Simon Sinek's books?
I have, absolutely.
I'm like, that's another Leaders Eat Last. I'm like, that's another Simon Sinek book, and I love it. But it is true. And, the philosophy of what you live by, I believe, dictates your future. And you have mentioned it several times with purpose, passion, servant leadership, your why. Where did that come from? That's kind of my last question. Like, where did that come from, Shane? Were you taught it? Was that part of your upbringing? Or do you just feel like it's an innate who you are? Because
Man,
I believe you are sitting in the seat that you are because of that. I do.
I think that there is a part of me that's always been focused on the why and the been goal driven. But I think as far as learning to see it the way that I've been kind of framing it, even though I think it's intuitive in a lot of ways, that deep down inside it's kind of a natural way of looking at it, we don't necessarily verbalize it or put it in that point of view until we hear it. So honestly, it's the books that you read, the podcasts that you listen to, the mentors that you surround yourself with, that allows you to develop that vision and develop the sight that you have, and that helps you become who you become. So I'm here today because of the people that were around me, and the resources of those like a Simon Sinek and others that I've been able to consume and
And
put.
learn from. And learn and put it to practice, and apply it to your life. Well, I know we ended up talking a lot about you and your character, and I appreciate it more. We didn't even talk too much about the technology pieces at Siskin. What EMR do you have at Siskin that you're utilizing?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story all along too. So we actually are on WellSky Specialty Care, and that what's unique about it is it's really an EMR that's designed specifically for post acute care and especially rehab. And so as we were looking at the Meditex, Epic, and others, we discovered this along the way, and it actually beat out all the others that we had invited to participate in that selection process, and even to this day is actually the greatest adoption rate that I've ever been part of in all of my EMR projects across my career.
Why? That is amazing. What was it? What was it that made it so,
Well,
yeah, well,
one, I mean, we were moving from one that wasn't really designed as well for rehabilitation. It had a lot of the acute care pieces that we needed, but it had created roadblocks in a lot of ways instead of enabling caregivers. So being able to move to a system that actually allowed them to incorporate into their workflows and it worked for them was a big piece. But the fact that every other EMR we were having to explain to them who we were, and understanding meaningful use, and the attention was really on the acute care settings for so many years. I'm glad to see EMR vendors starting to focus on the post acute care needs, but it was an opportunity to pick a EMR that already had it versus having to build it. So we were able to take it and kind of run with it a lot faster than what we would have if we had done something different. But the way that it's designed, the way that it fits into our workflow has just kind of liberated a lot of people.
that's awesome. That's fantastic because it's very rare that you hear that it's well received, everyone's happy, the adoption's been great. So that's amazing. I'd say kudos to you and your team for making that happen. You got to take credit where credit's due. So well done.
Thank you very much.
Any final thoughts as we wrap up? I really appreciate your time. Anything that maybe you would leave words of wisdom? I mean, you've left a lot of them.
I would say one, thank you very much for the opportunity. I've enjoyed the conversation. My biggest advice is trust your gut. I mean, if your gut's going to lead you the right direction 9 times out of 10, so trust your gut, but also care about your team and your people more than you care about yourself, and that will come back to you tenfold.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. I'm going to, if it's okay with you, I'll put kind of like your LinkedIn
Yes.
where people can connect with you via LinkedIn and create this network. But I appreciate you. Thank you for taking time with me today. And I really hope that this inspires others as well as you listen, as they listen and can get to where you are. today. So thank you.
Thank you again.
Every leader has a story, and every story reveals another piece of the bigger picture. What if the missing piece wasn't something you had to find, but something you were meant to become? Subscribe, share, and keep leading with intention. I'm April Reed, and I'll see you in the next conversation on The Missing Piece.